Welcome to The Rest is Giant Robots, a conversation through the careers of writer Simon Furman and artist Andrew Wildman. Recollections and revelations about the highs and the lows as creatives in comics, books, games, film and TV.
Hello everyone, welcome to The Rest is Giant Robots, episode 40, which sounds Titanic. I'm Simon Furman.
And I'm Andrew Wildman.
And today we're going to be taking a step back to our sort of parallel, sometimes intersecting careers and pick up from where we left off, which, as we said, was way back in episode 33. We last did one of these sort of forward through our careers times.
Yeah. So what in episode 33, where did we get to? What I can't remember what.
It was almost all the sort of post Regeneration 1 stuff. So kind of 2014 into 2015. So I
Right.
kind of drew a line and it was, end of 2015 into 2016, we kick off here.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
And,
Well, I'll let you start.
well, we were just saying beforehand for our sort of core, sort of subscription listeners, watchers, that neither of us were really working much in comics at the time, and
No.
that was something, because once I thought, what was I working on? There's a big gap in sort of I've got all my sort of comp copy, file copies of things in boxes, and I thought there's not much going on around this time, but of course there was just other stuff.
Other
But yeah,
stuff.
so I start off, and I was actually working on some comic stuff for Titan, good old Titan. They keep cropping up. And yeah, I was doing Dragons for them, which was the spin-off from How to Train Your Dragon. So they were
Right.
doing comic versions of the TV. I think it was called Dragons Riders of Berk, the series, and then
Yeah.
Dragons Defenders of Berk followed from that. And so, it's great. I was writing How to Train Your Dragon stuff, which was great fun, and that also led to I did some Kung Fu Panda stuff for them as well.
Oh wow.
I know. It was great. I
Quality.
really enjoyed it. In fact, Kung Fu Panda was particularly fun.
Yeah.
Sort of just because you've got Jack Black's voice in your head all the time you're writing the dialogue.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I had a bit of comics work, but it was patchy in that department. So I thought, what else was going on? Oh, okay, yeah. And so I would start off by saying it was the kind of end of my run on Mad Hatter Chronicles, the end of Mad Hatter Chronicles, really. This is
Mm.
when it wrapped up. Season 4 was finished for me, and we had one. We did a kind of almost not movie length, but double length episode called Rise of the Primal to
Right.
finish off the series. Although I can't even remember now whether they found Grandpa and got him home or whatever. Who knows?
Yeah. Who knows? I mean, I
Yeah.
look back in my diary and I'd got I'd got platinum in the diary in 2015, but I don't know. I guess I was doing some stuff at the end of Mad Hatter or whether they were doing
Hmm.
something else. I can't remember now.
Yeah, I mean, well, at the end of Mad Hatter kind of segued into the beginning of what was going to be, well, they called it Young Bear Grylls to start
Mm,
off with. And
mm,
the idea was it was Bear Grylls, the real guy, as a kid, as a sort of fictionalized kid,
mm.
getting into survival adventures when he was younger.
Yeah,
And that it turned into Bear Grylls Young Adventurer, and they were going to be a series of large-sized episodes that I think
right.
I don't know how or where they thought they were going to release them, but uh, Richard, who was the other writer on Mad Hatter at the end, was doing the first one, and I was doing the second one, which was a kind of Arctic wasteland story called Icebreaker.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, and so, it kind of was just a transition. Everyone was very excited about Bear Grylls, and
Yeah.
and this, and I remember having meetings in Pinewood, and script consult meetings, and everyone it was a real rolling production at that point, and yet here we
Mm.
are 10 years later, and I don't think it ever appeared as I mean, I think
Um,
they might have finished the first episode, but certainly nothing has ever appeared.
yeah, I remember going in and doing some kind of character design work for them. I think they'd got some designs, but they got me in to kind of finesse them and just come up with some new ideas. But I think that's all I did. I can't remember. I don't think I did any storyboarding on Bear Grylls. I don't know. Don't know.
No,
It's
I mean,
all in the dim and distant.
it is, yeah. I mean, but I'd forgotten how long ago it was. I kind of, in my head, it was all about 5, 6 years ago, but really it was the best part of 10 years that we
Yeah.
were we were sort of doing the planning stages of that.
Mm. I
But
mean,
yeah,
it was a very different, well, just thinking back to then, it was a very different world anyway. So it was pre-COVID, it was
mm,
pre-Brexit, and it was pre-Trump.
yeah, yeah, yes, yeah, much simpler time, wasn't it? It
Yeah,
seemed.
analogous. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it was it was I mean, I remember the process, the early process of the Young Bear Grylls thing. Really, it was really enjoyable. I mean, I had no particular uh, sort of affinity with. I hadn't really watched Bear Grylls very much, his kind of survival program, and
Mm.
but so a lot of it was kind of, okay, who is this guy? What does he do? Oh, he's written some books. Maybe I should try reading one of those and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was good times. But yeah, then it all just seemed to grind to a halt pretty much.
Yeah. God, that's a lot of finance gone nowhere,
Oh,
isn't it?
wow. I can't even begin to imagine the actual sort of setup costs of something like that, where presumably they had to, agree a licensing deal with Bear Grylls himself, and
Mm.
that can't
Yeah.
have been cheap. So,
No.
but
I
yeah,
guess
yeah. So
maybe there's going to be a certain amount of the fact that it never saw the light of day is going to save a certain amount of money because I guess paying the estate of Bear Edward,
yes,
um, that would have saved a lot of money because they wouldn't have had to pay any, you know, profits, any residuals,
yeah.
whatever.
No, I guess so. I guess it was only the setup stuff, but even then, it's an
Yeah,
outlay, and I'm sure they'd have wanted to get a return on that. So, yeah, strange.
yeah.
Anyway, that was how I started my kind of 2016. How about you?
So yeah, so okay. 2016. So I got platinum in the diary, and I looked on IMDb to see what the trouble is when I look on IMDb, the Internet Movie Database. So looking at what productions I've got on my section of IMDb, obviously productions come out after I've storyboarded them, so the timeline
Mm,
is not entirely accurate. Um, there was a film that came out in 2015 called Pressure, which was one of the first movies that I did.
mm.
And then 2015, I was working on Rough Rough Tweet and Dave, which I know we've
Yeah,
mentioned before, which is a
yep.
preschool show that I worked on. And then there's Matt Hatter. But as we get into 2016, that's when I started to do more TV stuff. So I'd done Doctor Who and bits and pieces like that, but I worked on a show called Jericho,
Hmm.
which was it was kind of it wasn't it had a very Western feel to it, but it was actually about the building of the Ribble's Head Viaduct.
Oh, okay.
Massive, massive viaduct that goes across a valley in Yorkshire.
Hmm.
And it was a great production. I mean, really
Mm.
good production values and just lots of stuff going on. Great cast. So I worked on that. So that was interesting. I'd also got in my diary something about Lego. So I worked on a Lego project.
Yeah. Do you remember one point we went in to see the Lego people? That was ages before,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah,
Um,
this was I think I was doing some corrections on storyboards for one of the animated Lego TV or
mhm.
film project. I think it was a TV project, so I was doing a load of kind of storyboard corrections on that. Um, Another thing that cropped up in my diary, it says Galvatron canvas. So I went through this
Mm.
period where I thought I want to be a proper artist and I want to paint canvases. I've had enough of all this, whatever. So and somebody commissioned me to do a canvas. I did a canvas of Optimus Prime for my son as a birthday present, and I
Mm,
so much enjoyed doing it, and I posted it online and all that kind of stuff.
mm,
So one of my current patrons, long-term patrons, Michael Ray's, who's bought a loads of stuff of mine. He's
mm.
great, very supportive. And I met him at the convention in Toronto because he lives in New
Oh,
York.
cool.
And then he went up to Toronto and I met him. So yeah, I did a canvas of Galvatron. That was good. And then he commissioned me to do a few more after that. So
Mm.
that was my brief foray into actually being a gallery artist.
Well, if you've still got them to hand, stick them up on the Patreon site.
Yeah, yeah, could do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be good,
Um,
good to give them an airing again. I don't think I've seen them.
have you not?
Don't think so. No, so yeah, bung them up, find them and bung them up on the Patreon site.
Yeah, I did a Scorponok as well.
Mm,
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I'll dig them
yeah,
out, dig out some pictures. I've got some somewhere.
isn't it funny?
Yes, I
Funny
worked
with
on Jericho.
mm,
And I worked on and then a film came up. So this TV stuff that I was doing largely came out of directors that I'd met on Doctor Who. So there were two main directors that I met on Doctor Who. So Jamie Payne, who's directing Luther, that I'm working on
yeah,
currently, and Farron Blackburn, he worked on Doctor Who. And then I did a movie that was directed by Farron Blackburn called Shut In, which was like a kind of a horror thriller, psychological horror thing, starring Naomi Watts. So that was really
okay.
cool.
Mm,
So that was a lot of fun to actually do a movie, and it was produced by the production company of what the hell's his name? The guy that did Fifth Element. What's his name?
Besson, Luc Besson.
Yeah, Luc Besson. Yeah, yeah, it was his production company. So we did that. So
Mm,
that was fun.
okay, cool.
Um, And I was also, there was a lot of development around that time for what eventually became Shane the Chef, the kids program that I co-created. So we were definitely kind of gearing up with that. So there were lots of writing sessions, and I think we were just beginning to go into production round about then with
Mm,
production company in Wales. So that was good because I think in 2016 I'd also got in my diary that I went to a voice record. So that would have been a voice record in Cardiff. I thought they were done in London, but
mhm.
maybe they were done in Cardiff. So the voice of Shane the Chef was Russell Tovey.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
So that was
excellent.
great. So I remember going to a voice record with Russell Tovey in the booth, just kind of being Shane. It was amazing. So
Mm.
I watched a little bit of the was it Between the Land and the Sea, the whole Doctor
The
Who
war,
spin-off
yeah,
thing.
war between the land and the
War Between the
sea.
Land and the Sea. I can't watch anything with Russell Tovey now without hearing Shane the Chef.
Yeah, it's weird that, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
they get in your head he's going to be forever Shane, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So that was an incredible experience so all this, like you were saying, not working on much in the way of comics at the time, although obviously you were, but it wasn't
Mm,
Transformers or any of that kind of stuff. Um,
yeah,
and mine had definitely shifted to TV and a little bit of
mm.
film.
But
So a
it's
huge change for us.
yeah, but it's funny what
Mm.
you were saying. Oh, there was Transformers in there because you were doing these canvases, and I thought, but there was
Yeah.
no Transformers because the next Transformers would have been Transformers '84, the series I did for IDW, but that was a couple of years down the line. But of course, then I start looking, oh no, of course I was working on Transformers. I'm always working on Transformers
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
towards the end of 2015 into 2016 was Earth Wars, the game, the sort of the mobile Transformers game that is
Mm.
still running and reaching its 10th anniversary this year.
Wow.
So, so yeah, that was my first sort of trip in to see them and talk about writing these sort of background stories and dialogues for the game. And it's hard to believe it's been 10 years now on that, and this massive volume of work that must exist sort of in the ether,
Yeah. And
10,
was that
10
your first games work?
it was, yeah. It was my first exposure to that. And although I wasn't involved in the gameplay as such. These
Mm.
days I tend to do a lot of stuff, that is story enmeshed or cutscenes or whatever enmeshed in the
Yeah.
gameplay. But this was purely a kind of here's the characters. We need a background story running every time we release new characters. So,
Mm.
every month they bring new characters into the game and they have these background sort of dialogue only stories that I
Right.
was writing for that. And yeah, it was great fun. They were a great team. Very, this company was called Space Ape, and they were quite a sort of
Yeah.
young company. They'd done a couple of ones, Clash of Clans, was it? Or I don't know. Anyway, maybe that was the one but they had a couple of games that had given them some presence in the market. And yeah, they picked
Mm.
up the license to Transformers, mostly, I think, driven by their sort of creative director, Chris White, who was a big fan. So he
Mm.
contacted me and said, "Oh, I can't believe I'm talking to Simon Furman." It was one of those ones. And it was like, oh, God, yeah, look, if you're going to employ me, you have to stop that straight away.
I know
But
it, but I mean it's really great. I mean, yeah, I mean I've had that kind of thing happen, but I don't know how it is for you, but I immediately feel like the old man in the room.
oh, definitely. Yeah. It was like, yeah, I was a kid when I was reading yeah, of course you were. And now I feel very old. Yeah. But
Yeah.
anyway, I mean, a very lovely chap, and I've worked with him since on other games for other companies. But yeah, he was, I mean, so enthusiastic about the whole project. And I think that's why Earth Wars has lasted. Games
Mm.
just don't tend to last that long. They have a shelf
No.
life and then the players move on to something new. But I think the players who are really into Earth Wars, good old Peter Hodgson, hello Peter, is
Yeah.
still off. I often see him posting about the game's stuff on Earth Wars. So
Excellent.
so yeah, it's amazing and it was really fun and that opened a door really for me to kind of enmesh myself in Transformers games ever since because
Mm.
the guys at Hasbro in America who sort of handle the game licenses and things, I've sort of become their go-to consultant, writer. If a company picks up the games license, I tend to get dropped in with the package, which is very nice. So,
You are the go-to. You are Mr. Transformers. I mean, why would
well,
they
indeed.
employ anybody else,
Well, still, but the funny thing is, and I probably shouldn't say this, I don't actually do much playing of games at all. So
No.
it's one of those things where I'll happy do the writing, but whenever they ask me to, oh, and here's the working game, so you can have a play around with that. It's like, eh,
Yeah. I'll give
pass.
that to a child somewhere that I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but so yeah, that was going on, and then, and I will jump back to you in a moment. Almost on
Mm.
top of that came the definitive G1 Transformers the definitive G1 collection, which
Right.
was a Partworks. Now, anyone in America listening to this probably doesn't really get Partworks because they seem to be a uniquely British thing.
Oh.
But they operate mostly on a subscription thing where there's initial issues, if you like, if that's what it is, are released through the newsagents here. And
Mm.
then that's like the first 10 or 20 issues, but these things often go on for 80 plus issues and it becomes a subscription thing. And that's
Mm.
their model. But that also the model is with part works, they often don't release things sequentially. They will go, here's
Right.
volume 6 and volume 26 and volume 50 and then back to volume 2. So it's a weird thing. And then they assemble into a collection.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm sure part works always used to be like consecutive, but I guess they've done that because it just like entices people into filling in the
mm,
gaps in their collection, doesn't it?
yeah, I guess they reason that some people may get so far and stop because that's the bit they want or whatever. Or, uh, but yeah, this Transformer. So they came to me, and this is Hachette, who are a big part
Mm.
works company. And I think Steve White was either working for them at the time or was started work for them as this was going on, maybe just kind of on the cusp. Anyway, so they contacted me and said, okay, we want an 80 volume collection of Transformers comic material. And I'm thinking, 80 volume? God, where do I even start? But is there enough material for that? And
Mm.
what the other thing part works do is they do a test phase. They will release, say, 5 volumes in a limited location and see what the reaction is to that before they go to
Mm.
full release countrywide. And I was just going, okay, so you want 5 volumes, non-sequential, which means the whole 80 have to be mapped out up front.
Mm. Yeah.
And then I need to go, right, we're going to concentrate on this volume, that volume. I mean, and the logistics of come, because if you got it wrong at that stage, it would have been hard to sort of correct it down the line. So I had to come up with an 80 volume plan, some of which was a little, oh, and by this point, I hope IDW have produced more material to fill these end volumes.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was a really weird kind of, okay, I can more or less get the UK stuff. And then we had plans for the Dreamwave era and then the IDW era. So
Mm.
and Regeneration 1 slotted in there as well.
Mm.
So it was a real sort of juggling act to get the whole thing assembled and then get these 5 test volumes into shape. So the whole thing had to be, it's a lot of outlay. All the covers had to be sorted out, and luckily we had Martin Stiff, my artist on 5 Points.
Yeah.
He works for a design company, his own design company called Amazing 15, and they were doing the design on it. So I was able
Mm.
to work with Martin, and he's brilliant. And between us, we sort of got the whole look of the series together and the bonus content that goes in, because again, it's not just reprint comic strip. There had to be contextual stuff around it.
Mm.
And so this whole thing took, it was, when I think back on it, it was must have been a massive job just to get the 5 volumes, test volumes out there. And then the whole thing could have stopped.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
was no guarantee we would do the other 75 volumes. I'd worked on part works before where we did those five launch issues or whatever they were, volumes, and then that was it.
Yeah.
So I've got another Transformers part works thing where I've got 5 issues that most of the country never saw because they were only
Yeah.
tested in a limited area. So yeah, it could easily have stopped dead, but it didn't, and then occupied my time for probably the next 4 years.
And so it's done. It's done, is it? All the full
It's
80s
done.
are all
Well,
completely
it's
done.
it's not only is it done, it got to a point where it was doing well enough that they said, can we find another 20 volumes?" It was like, what? I don't think there's enough material. So, it became a bit of a scramble. Thankfully, IDW were still producing, so we had that. And then it was, okay, well, it's not generation one exactly, but we'll put generation two in there. And
Mm.
Beast Wars, and just about anything else I could find. It was really scratching around a bit at the end to find material for 20 extra volumes.
Amazing.
So,
Yeah. Did you know Martin anyway at that point, or is that when you met him?
no, I knew him because Martin used to work at Titan. So I'd
Oh, I
known
see.
him. He was on staff while I was in the office part time. And then, he left Titan, but we kept in touch. So
Okay.
yeah, no, I'd already met and knew Martin. So it was an easy working thing because, we knew each other, got on well. So it was an easy one. And he's such a good designer. Really, really top rate stuff. The stuff
Mm.
Amazing 15 puts out looks incredible. And he and another ex-Titan person, Marcus Scudamore, they left Titan to set up Amazing 15, and I think they're doing really well.
Yeah, good for him. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And he can
anyway, yes.
draw as
So
well.
and he can draw. Yeah, yeah, multi-talented. But yes, so that was all going on. No, it yeah, as I keep saying, it never ends. The Transformers stuff.
It certainly doesn't. I wonder if, will it ever end? Oh, that's interesting. Probably
Yeah,
not.
that shows no sign of it. Certainly not as far as my current workload goes. It's just, yeah, wow, this thing is going
Yeah,
to keep rolling.
yeah, good. Good.
Anything
Mm.
else going on with you around that
At
time,
that time,
2016?
I don't think so. No. So just like lots of storyboarding. I mean, it's surprising how when looking in my diary, my kind of online diary, because sometimes when I'm storyboarding, it might be 2 weeks work, maybe 3 weeks work. But it was amazing how much time Jericho took up. There was quite a lot of, I can't remember what it actually was, but what I was
Yeah,
actually boarding, but I might have to go back and see if I can dig them out. But yeah, so
yeah.
there was a lot of boarding on Jericho. And Shut In being a movie was done at a slower pace. So there were nicer boards. It kind of gives you a bit more room,
Mm.
to kind of spend some time doing TV tends to have to be quick and dirty, but with movies, they allow you a bit more time to kind of develop the boards, which is good, which is what's been great about working on Luther.
I,
Um,
I I definitely think people would like to see some of those boards, just to kind of get the idea of what we're talking about. So yeah, maybe you
yeah.
can post a few up.
Yeah, I will definitely. I mean, the disappointing thing with boards is that in my memory, I think about the boards and it's like, oh yeah, I remember that. And in my memory, they're like really nice, finished and everything. And then when I look back, it's like, oh, just like just real rough sketches, some of them, with a few arrows on. I mean, I had a meeting with Jamie because production here on Luther is so intense now that they're filming that I
Mm.
don't see Jamie very much at all. So there was a meeting that we had to do where he was briefing me on a board that needs to get done pretty quickly because they have started filming, and the only time slot that we could find where we could actually get together and have a meeting involved a driver picking me up from the studio here in southwest London. We're out on the M3, driving me all the way into Edgware Road, getting out of that car, getting into another car, which was Jamie's car, waiting for him to come from his apartment to get in the car, where there was an hour or less drive from there down to the location on the outskirts of London. So it was a meeting in the car. So, while it's
Yep.
going around like this and I'm trying to make notes and Um,
Always reminds me of Nigel Stone on Mad Hatter Chronicles, who would often do script meetings from the car. He'd be on in motion somewhere. And he'd be sort of going through the scripts in the car, and occasionally sort of offering directions or something to whoever was driving. So it was like, oh my God, you know.
intense, full on kind of life some of these people lead. So I had this
Yeah.
meeting in the car, and I'd printed out a load of boards because there was some other stuff that I needed Jamie to have a look at to sign off so I could then, put them on the database, whatever. Um, and we were kind of reminiscing about some of the boards from a few years ago that I'd done with him. There was a show that came out it was actually 2017. I was probably working on it 2016, called The White Princess. I think it was for Paramount or Stars, I think it was. Anyway, it's like a kind of Tudor drama thing with Jodie Comer, who's obviously,
Oh, yes, I've
massive,
seen
massive
it.
now.
Yes, yeah, no, I have. I've seen that. That is good, actually.
Yeah,
Really good. Yeah.
yeah. So that was Jamie. So I did a lot of boarding on that, and he said your boards on Luther now. He said they're just so different. He said if thinking back to the days of the White
Mm,
Princess and how they were just like quickly drawn, and it's like I mean, I've kind of honed my craft and do them in different
yeah.
ways now, but they are because the thing about boarding is that it can be very quick and dirty, and it's great fun. It's good work. It pays
Mm,
quite well and all that kind of stuff. But you
yeah.
rarely end up with some really nice portfolio pieces. But
Yeah.
but this stuff, I mean, I shall definitely, once
Mm,
it's all finished and I can show them to people, then I'll definitely have those as portfolio pieces. If anyone wants to see any of my boards, I mean, they can go to apwildman.com and I've got them posted up there. But I will stick some old samples up on the
yeah.
Patreon page for all
Do.
to see.
And see if you can dig out those canvases. I think that would be interesting to see.
I'll make a note of that. Yeah. Else I'll
Yeah.
forget.
Yeah. So while you're doing that, I'll chat about one other thing that was interesting when I sort of did my usual troll back through my old WordPress blog.
Yeah.
2015 was, auto assembly. And I thought, okay, yeah, yeah, auto assembly. Wow, it's still auto assembly. But 2016 was TF Nation. So obviously
Ah,
the whole rebranding slight coup, sort of, and Simon what was his name? Simon
Plum.
Plum, yes, had
Yeah.
sort of been sort of removed by the insurgents, Billy and David and Tory and although, it kind of changed. And yes, so 2016 was the first TF Nation. And,
Uh-huh.
I thought, oh, wow, this must be the 10th anniversary of TF Nation. But then I thought they missed one because of COVID. So I
Oh,
wonder whether
right.
they'll count it as next year is the 10th, anniversary
Yeah.
of the convention.
Yeah. So that
But
that
yeah,
handover point, that was when the whole, as we found out, relatively recent, that was when you and I fell out.
yes, that's right. Yeah, because apparently, yeah, Simon at some parting shots had told Billy and the others, don't put Simon and Andrew together because they've fallen out. So don't put their
Yeah.
tables next to each other. It was like, what? Yeah,
Yeah.
and that apparently lasted many years of them thinking that, and
Yeah.
we were like,
I mean, we
huh?
knew none of this up until like a couple of years ago, or even was it last
Yeah,
year or the year before?
year
Yeah. And when we
before
found out that
maybe.
that's what had happened.
Because we weren't our tables weren't next to each other, and we thought that's strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're doing this, we're doing all these things, continually together, and we're both, have this history together. And why aren't they
Mm.
seating us together? It was because of this totally erroneous falling out, which is
Yeah.
very strange.
Put us too close together, we might just kick off.
Yeah, it's right. Anyway, yes, that thankfully that has all been sort of sorted out and everyone disillusioned.
Yeah. Disillusioned.
Yeah. But yeah, so yes,
Yeah.
that was also going on, and I'm trying to think what was. Oh, the other thing during that period was the digital release of To the Death. You know, there was so
Oh,
much going
wow.
on. Yeah, so
Mm,
from, I kind of did a little thing, and episode one launched in October 2016,
mm.
and episode 18, the last one, came out in February 2017. So yeah, somehow we were also overseeing this whole digital, you know, production of To the Death as well.
Yeah,
So,
I
you
think
know,
2016 was when Horizon came out. So I had done it as three separate issues over the 3 years prior to that. But I think it was 2016 where I collected them all and then did Thought Bubble. And yeah, that came out in its first complete iteration. So that's an interesting time then when we were both very definitely
mm,
dipping our toe into self-publishing.
yeah. And, it wasn't like I was, because I kind of always assumed with To the Death, it was done when I was less busy or something, but that just
Mm,
wasn't the case. It was on top
yeah.
of everything else that was going on. It would have been the definitive G1 collection, Earth Wars, Young Bear Grylls, probably some other bits and pieces of comics work that haven't bubbled up yet. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was all going on at that time. You know, we had the other thing, we had the usual range of conventions and stuff, but we did a signing in Orbital in January 2017 for the definitive G1 collection. We must have gathered a few people and done a proper launch signing there, which was great.
Yeah. Was I there?
I'm not sure. I mean,
Who
when
knows?
I don't know. I mean, I think there must have been a few of us, but I don't know who
Yeah.
exactly was there. I guess it would have been with the launch volumes, whichever they were. I can't remember now.
Mm.
I know
Yeah. Wow.
Target 2006 was the first volume. I put
Mm.
that up front because I thought, well, everyone remembers that one, so hopefully it'll get. But then it was a kind of mixed bag of, I think, Stormbringer for IDW is one of the early volumes. Um,
Mm.
it must have been one that had kind of the Marvel US storyline front and center in it. Maybe one of the Dreamwave ones. I think one of the War Withins. So yeah, it was a
Mm.
real sort of mixed bag, that opening salvo of volumes.
Mm.
Wow, a
Did
lot
it
of
did it have,
work.
I mean, the other thing with part works, I don't know that I've ever bought, kind of invested any part works, but they always used to have that. Here's the first bit of a model that you can build over the course
Yes,
of
yeah,
a year or whatever. Did they
yeah.
have anything on those?
No, no. I mean, there was extra bonus material in the volumes, but there wasn't something. Yeah, I think the first five volumes came with sort of incentive things if you subscribed. So there might have been some
Right.
art prints or something like that. And I'd forgotten actually that the main USP I came up with for the volumes and fought for was the colouring up of the UK black and white material that Marvel UK
Yes.
had
Yeah.
published.
Yeah.
So that was my big kind of, they were saying, oh, sort of, how are we going to attract the fans? This has all been reprinted. And I said, well, look, it's going to cost you a bit because obviously you'll have to pay a colorist, which of
Yeah.
course was JP.
Yeah.
And um, basically, I had to fight a bit because these things had quite a tight budget, really. And
Mm.
and I just said it's going to be worth your while because this color material will be the only kind of unique thing. And the other thing I pushed really hard for on the definitive G1 collection was to collect some of the Dreamwave material that had never been collected before.
Mm.
Before Dreamwave went under, they had an ongoing Generation 1 series. It was kind of like volume three, technically, but it was their ongoing, and there were 10 or something issues of that before they imploded that had never been collected. So I pushed really hard to get, and I put those into the plan. I'd put these
Mm.
10 issues into this overall 80 volume plan. And then when it came down to it, Hasbro vetoed the idea. They were worried about
Yeah.
this material because of the bankruptcy and the sort of end of everything. And I was like, oh no, we've got two empty volumes here. What the hell are we going to do? And so I had to find we in the end we filled it with some G1 related Armada, Transformers Armada stories I'd written. So,
Mm.
but it was just like, oh God, there's nothing to go here. What are we going to do? But yeah, that was the other kind of thing. I said, oh look, if we tell people we're going to be reprinting that again, they'll kind of sign on for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so yes,
Imagine.
lots going on, and oh, and one other thing. God, there's so much. I because I wrote a list of things, and the other thing was I wrote a novel.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, I
Simon
know.
Furman novel.
Well, it was a thing I'd been working on for a guy called Terry Jervis, who was a sort of, developer, entrepreneur, all sorts. He loved his comics, and his pet project was a thing called Spirit of the Pharaoh, which
Right.
beforehand he got me to develop as an animation TV pilot to try. He was going to try and sell that, and it was a kind of meld of superheroes and ancient Egypt.
Mm.
So, pharaohs and, sort of, you know, monsters and everything else. I mean, it was kind of fun idea, and he had big plans for it. So I'd written this, animated, a sort of large-sized episode, like almost feature length, and
Yeah.
that hadn't kind of got picked up. So, Terry was a real trier, and he just said, well, look, I'm going to turn this into other things. So I'd like you to write a novelization of your teleplay, and
Mm.
also, and then I'm going to get Chris Geary, an artist we both know, I think, and have met, to turn the animated episode script into a graphic novel.
Wow.
Yeah. So all this was going on, and I'd never written I mean, I'd written a little bit of prose, but it's not my forte. I'll hold my hand up to that.
Mm.
And but Terry really wanted a novelization of Spirit of the Pharaoh. So I sat down and wrote this thing at a great rate of knots, really. And okay, I had the story. It wasn't like I was starting from scratch. But yeah, it actually is somewhere out there, the novelization of Spirit of the Pharaoh. And I was actually quite pleased with it in the end. But it's such a time-consuming thing,
Is
writing.
it on Amazon?
I don't know. Um, I mean, it would have been released somehow, but did it make it onto Amazon? I
I
don't
mean,
know.
it should be really because that's the
Mm,
easiest way to release anything, isn't it?
yeah, I actually don't know. I haven't looked for it for quite a while. Again, this is sort of, best part of 10 years ago that I did this.
Yeah.
And I mean, it certainly came out. I have a finished copy on my shelf, and yeah, it's there. So yeah, that or somehow that squeezed in as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So, okay, I think that's, unless you've got anything else you'd like to jump in with.
I don't think I do. I mean, in terms of TV, after The White Princess, I did some Poldark.
Oh yeah, wow.
That came out in 2017, so it's possible that I'd boarded that in 2016.
Mm,
Man in an Orange Shirt, that was like a wartime thing.
okay, never heard of that.
No, something called Bounty Hunters with
Mm,
Jack Whitehall.
okay,
Yeah, and then we moved into 2017, 2018. Yeah,
yeah,
other stuff. The
yeah.
Alienist, more up to date. But
Yeah, same
we'll get
here.
on to that another time.
And as I was saying to Andrew at the start of this, I'm going to have to start looking at my old Facebook entries now. My WordPress blog is no more.
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah,
at this point, it was transplanted by kind of social media.
yeah. That's been a useful resource, though, having that blog.
Oh, really?
Mm.
Yeah. Every convention, every signing, every whatever is there. So, yeah, it's been really handy.
And the thing about blogs, as opposed to social media, is that blogs had more, like you'd give it more focus.
Mm,
You were writing a piece, almost like a newspaper or a magazine.
mm.
So they're kind of more coherent. Was social media, it's like just stuff thrown out
Yes.
there,
Yeah.
very, very brief.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, but you're right. The blog, because when we were doing Regeneration 1, and I think we've spoken about this, I used to do what I called these script wraps. Every time
mm,
I finished a script, I'd do a sort of spoilerish free roundup of the storyline so that it was kind of like, oh, and once it was ready to come out, people would know what's coming up. But yeah,
mm.
you couldn't do that on social media. It would just be people wouldn't read it, I don't
No,
think.
no, no. Attention spans have got shorter and shorter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Well, anyway, good stuff. Lovely chatting as
Mm.
always. And I'm not sure what we're doing next time, but we will be back
Or when.
or when. Yes, yeah.
Hopefully
But
not too long now that they started filming. Time will free up a little bit for
mm,
me. So I know you're going away for a little while, but then we'll do one as soon as you're back.
yeah, absolutely. We should more or less keep to a 2 week release thing.
I, I think we're going to get to that. So thank you to all the listeners who have endured this slightly sporadic
Yeah.
few episodes, but yeah, we'll get back on track. It'll be good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And who knows? We're after this, we're on course to our 50th episode, which is going to be kind of strange.
yeah,
I
yeah.
worked it out that by the time we get to our 50th episode, we'll have been talking for nearly 2 days straight. God, how
Okay.
boring. You know, how boring for people, 2 days straight of listening to us waffle on.
They love it. They can't get enough of it. And
Indeed. Well,
just
oh, so,
before we go, yeah, for anyone listening, questions. We're always interested in having
mm,
questions come in. So send any correspondence to wildfurproductions@gmail.com, or just check out the Patreon blog, which you can get through by going to wildfur.net and drop us a line.
yeah, please do. We'll do another Q&A thing once we've got another critical mass of ones to go through.
Yeah, and if people don't, we'll make up our own questions.
Yeah. Good stuff,
Yeah.
Andrew. Right.
All
And
right.
and thank you everyone for listening.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks, Simon. See you soon. Bye.
Uh,
Thank you for listening to The Rest is Giant Robots. If you enjoyed what you heard, please consider subscribing for more and maybe share with like-minded friends. This has been a Wildfur production.